It's all about the puppets.
Only the puppets. How many worn this thing many a time.
All right, so who do we have here concerning the puppet? I see the Anarchy shirt, which I like, but...
This is a puppet Fat Mike Burkett. This is a Fat Mike, a representation of Fat Mike, who's the owner of Fat Records, which is what our documentary of Fat Wreck is about.
That's awesome. Okay, so not everybody knows about Fat Wreck Chords, unfortunately. I realize, of course, the music of the 90s, of course, which is exciting and everything else, but what led to the creation of this documentary, and how did this come about exactly?
Part of it is everybody not knowing Fat Records is a satisfying thing for us. We wanted to make this film for people who didn't grow up with it and love the music the way that we did when we were kids, and then into adulthood. So what we wanted to do, speaking on Shaun, our director's behalf, is originally it was a short-form documentary about the fans, the community that surrounded this, where we all came from. And then ultimately that grew into, through the successful Kickstarter campaign, or the Indiegogo campaign, that turned into a feature-length thing with puppets and animation and travel and people working in 4 different countries and just all the wonderful things that ultimately happened.
Yes.
So when everything expanded and turned into such a big project, what was that like? Was it exciting? Was it just kind of overwhelming? I mean,
personally for me, it was very exciting. I grew up listening to Fat Records. I'm a 12-year-old kid. 16-year-old me, I was in the studio with my favorite bands. I'm talking to my punk rock idols, so just to be able to be a part of that circle and do something that's now part of that legacy and that history is, for me, is just so exciting. It's so exciting.
This is something where, I think it's part of what led Shaun and Joel to get started on it, is I want to see this movie, even if I wasn't lucky enough to be a part of making it. You know what I mean? I'm glad this exists to document something that was so vital and so important to me as a younger person, and that I still love and appreciate so much now in my mid-30s and counting.
So how would you describe the music, and how has the music scene changed, and how does that translate to the film now?
That's an excellent question.
Now.
Usually when people hear punk rock, they think they're really abrasive, kind of nihilate, screaming and yelling and kicking people. This Fat Records is more about kind of the melodic. It was kind of the bridge to pop punk. You know, if you think of the Green Days and the things that kind of have the more of the punk rock edge, but it's very melodic and radio friendly. Fat Records is sort of the independent bridge that I think kind of paved the way for that. So what most people might think of as punk rock may not sound exactly like this. Not that that's not great. There's been some wonderful films about that period of time, the 80s era and DC hardcore scene. But what we're trying to do is that kind of West Coast sound that sort of defined punk rock in the 90s.
Okay, now I have to ask a question about this guy right here. Does he have any props that you add to this, or is it come as you are with
We
this
had
guy?
multiple wardrobes for him and different sequences of the scene for him, as well as
there were some props.
There was a lot.
Fatty.
There were some drug props.
So one of the most memorable props for me, I did a lot of the early puppeteering. Joel and I would trade out later. So real Fat Mike, has some non-traditional sexual interests, to put it as diplomatically as we can. I will describe. So there were a couple scenes where we had a dominatrix come, a young lady who does costume play as a dominatrix, and so Puppet Mike is in a dog cage, so I'm crawling under a dog cage.
Full ball gag.
Then another scene where the dominatrix is spanking Fat Mike. Well, as you'll see where Joel's arm is, that's where our elbow is. So the young lady was a little timid at first, and we're like, no, you really have to swing that thing. So long story short, she clubbed my elbow a good 50 or 60 times, and then I get to go home at the end of the day and explain to my wife what I've been doing all day. Why are you walking around and rubbing your arm? Well, dear, a dominatrix was spanking my elbow for half an hour.
Well, if you don't have any interest in this documentary, that should certainly do it right there.
Luckily, I'm married to a very lovely and understanding woman. So, what was you didn't have anything to explain to your lady friend, did you?
Nothing I can say right now.
Okay, one last question before we go. We got to wrap this up. We have to ask this as being part of that nerd show.
Sure.
If you could be involved in either or in any way possible, which would it be, Star Trek or Star Wars?
Ooh, man, I am a Trekker all the way.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Star Trek, Deep Space Nine or earlier, Star Wars post-prequel trilogy.
All right, so
Depends on where we're at.
Okay.
This guy.
All right.
That was a good answer.
Taking
Right?
2 weeks.
A little more fun.
All right,
And I
guys.
covered both bases.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Hey,
awesome.
Alex,
Good to see you.
we're gonna keep rolling. We got
right.
more puppets.
Sorry, Joe. To the right hand.
And the prettier puppet.
Yeah, and the pretty puppet, definitely.
I'm going to leave that up to everybody else to decide. Okay, so let's see, where can we go with this from here? Tell us about the experience of this documentary from your perspective. How would you sum it up? Shorthand.
It was easy. It was, it was just us kind of getting together, deciding what city to go to and which state, and interviewing which rock stars, basically, and interviewing people that had a long history with the label, and everyone was really gung-ho about it, and so there wasn't a lot of attitudes, a lot of first-time filmmakers, so it was just a lot of enthusiasm. So I would say it was probably the easiest, the most fun thing that film I've worked on, because no one's jaded yet.
So how did you go about deciding what city to go to or what state to go to next, or was it kind of spur of the
Basically, it was
moment?
the people who we wanted to interview.
Okay.
We definitely, California or San Francisco was a big trip because we wanted to get Aaron and Mike. And basically, we'd set up one, and then we would set up interviews all down, around that to make the best of the area that we were in. So.
Okay, so we got a good introduction to our other friend here. Now tell us a little bit about this one right here.
This is Erin Burkett.
Okay.
She is the brains of the operation, basically. like you said, behind every man is a.
No, Chris.
No, okay, never mind. I don't know. She's a co-owner of Fat Records. So, thanks.
Now we got a little explanation.
Not behind, beside.
Yeah, beside.
We got a little explanation about some of the wardrobe changes with our other character. Now, what are some things you do with this one? Does this one have a wardrobe as well?
She actually projectile vomits if you put the right thing inside of it. It's really
We didn't
interesting.
bring that apparatus.
Yeah, we didn't bring it tonight. We didn't want to get you dressed nice. So
I'd be curious to know exactly what would cause that or induce it, but we'll leave that to the imagination.
Yeah, you'll have to see the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. We have so many reasons to go see this now. It's just unbelievable. So what's let's where to go from here? Okay. What was the most exciting thing that you did as far as traveling? I heard that you actually got to go overseas a little bit too. Is that true?
we didn't actually have to go overseas.
Okay.
We had people from Japan and Australia do the interview.
So you took a look at some of what you saw overseas, though. I mean, what did you see? How did it differ from what was here in the States?
Well, some of the bands that they signed were from other countries.
Okay.
So rather than us having to go there, which normally we would have to, we had people from there. We kind of gave them a direction of how we wanted them to kind of shoot it,
Okay.
make it sound, and then they did it for us. So it was a lot easier.
Wrap it up. Okay. We're going to close this out, but first we want to ask briefly, because we're asking everybody, because we're from That Nerd Show, if you could be a part of any film from either series in any way, would you pick Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Trek.
Okay.
Star Wars.
All right. So we got 2 and 2 there. Okay, that's a good deal. We got it nice and
Star
even.
Trek was way more about like egalitarian thought processes, and Star Wars is a lot of like misogyny. I mean, is there any female Jedis? What is going on
Well,
there?
that remains to be seen.
All right, we're done.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.